The emergency transmission reached every human facility in the galaxy within 37 minutes of Dr. Yang Hai-1's death. The coded message was simple, but carried the weight of 3 centuries of hidden preparation. Operation Sunrise had finally begun. Captain Park Subin was delivering medical supplies to a refugee camp in the Vega system. When her communications officer received the priority signal, Park read the message twice to make sure she understood correctly. Then she walked calmly to the ship's intercom and addressed her crew. Her voice was steady as she explained that their humanitarian mission was being terminated immediately. All non-essential personnel were to report to escape pods for immediate evacuation to the nearest human facility. The remaining crew would be implementing new operational procedures that had been classified until this moment. Park's cargo ship began its transformation while still docked at the refugee station. External panels slid away, revealing weapon systems that had been hidden for 8 years. The ship's true configuration emerged like a predator, shedding its camouflage. Missile launchers extended from the hull, while energy cannons locked into firing positions. The alien refugees watched in stunned silence as the peaceful human cargo vessel revealed itself to be one of the most heavily armed ships they had ever seen. Weapons that could destroy small moons had been disguised as cargo containers. Medical equipment folded away to reveal targeting systems more advanced than anything in the Thorgan military park. Received updated orders on her secure command channel. Her ship was now designated Hunter-class Destroyer Park 7-7, and her mission was to begin immediate reconnaissance of Thorgan military installations. The woman who had spent years delivering food and medicine to alien refugees was now a warship captain preparing for total war. Ambassador Lee Day-Ho sat in the Galactic Council chambers for what he knew would be the final time. The morning session was discussing trade regulations between minor systems, while the assembled delegates gossiped about border disputes and resource rights. None of them had any idea that the galactic order was about to change forever. Lee activated his personal communicator and spoke a single word in Korean. The word meant sunrise, and it triggered protocols that had been dormant for decades. Human diplomatic staff throughout the galaxy received the signal simultaneously and began implementing their final orders. The transformation was immediate and visible. Ambassador Lee stood up during the middle of a speech by the Zephyrian Trade Minister. His movement was so sudden and unexpected that the entire chamber fell silent. Every alien delegate turned to look at the human who had always been so polite and respectful. Lee walked to the central podium, where only the most powerful species were permitted to speak. His footsteps echoed in the vast chamber as hundreds of alien eyes followed his progress. The human ambassador, who had spent 15 years sitting quietly in the back section, was now claiming the attention of the entire Galactic Council. When Lee began to speak, his voice carried an authority that no one had ever heard from a human before. He announced that humanity was formally withdrawing from all treaties, trade agreements, and diplomatic protocols effective immediately. The ambassador explained that recent events had demonstrated the true nature of galactic civilization. Lee informed the shocked assembly that the Thorgan Empire had committed an act of unprovoked aggression against innocent human civilians conducting peaceful research. The destruction of Station Harmony had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed, and humanity would respond accordingly. The alien delegates began protesting and demanding explanations, but Lee continued speaking without acknowledging their interruptions. He explained that humanity had spent 3 centuries learning about galactic politics and had reached the conclusion that peaceful coexistence was impossible. The ambassador thanked the assembled species for teaching humanity such valuable lessons about interstellar relations. He assured them that humans were grateful for the education and would put their new knowledge to good use. The formal politeness of his words made them even more terrifying. Lee concluded his speech by informing the council that humanity was officially changing its status from neutral observer to active participant in galactic affairs. He wished the assembled delegates good luck in their future endeavors, then walked out of the chamber without looking back. General Kim Tae-sung stood in the command center of Titan Base deep within Saturn's largest moon. The facility had been disguised as a mining operation for 40 years, while secretly serving as humanity's primary military headquarters. Banks of screens showed real-time positions of every major alien fleet in the galaxy. Kim had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. The intelligence networks built over 3 centuries were now being activated for their true purpose. Every human trader, diplomat, and researcher was revealed to be part of the most sophisticated military operation in galactic history. The general opened a secure channel to Earth and spoke directly to the president. The conversation lasted less than 5 minutes, but authorized actions that would reshape galactic civilization. Kim received permission to implement the final phase of Operation Sunrise. Across the galaxy, human facilities began revealing their true nature. Research stations activated defensive systems that could withstand planet killing. Weapons trading posts extended massive sensor arrays that had been monitoring alien communications for decades. Medical facilities locked down their alien patients while human staff disappeared through hidden passages. Dr. Kim Yoo-jin walked through the corridors of Nexus Medical Center carrying a small device that would change everything. The hospital treated patients from 43 different species, and Kim had spent 12 years learning exactly how each species could be neutralized. The device contained biological agents specifically designed to incapacitate, but not kill. Kim activated the device while walking through the main ward. Invisible gases began circulating through the hospital's ventilation system. Alien patients and staff started falling unconscious within minutes while human personnel remained unaffected. The doctor, who had seemed so dedicated to healing, was actually a biological warfare specialist engineer. Choi Min-ho stood in the control room of New Geneva Station as the facility's true capabilities came online. The space station had served as a major trade hub for 15 years, while secretly functioning as a fortress capable of controlling an entire star system. Defensive shields powerful enough to stop dreadnought bombardment snapped into place around the station. Weapon systems that had been disguised as communications arrays locked onto nearby alien vessels. The peaceful trading post was actually one of hundreds of hidden military bases scattered throughout human space. Captain Yoon-hae Ri commanded the merchant vessel Golden Dawn as it dropped its disguise in the heart of Thorgan space. Her ship had been conducting regular trade runs to Empire worlds for 6 years while mapping every military installation and defensive system. The Golden Dawn revealed advanced stealth technology that had kept it invisible to Thorgan sensors during hundreds of reconnaissance missions. Weapon systems more powerful than anything in the Empire. Fleet emerged from hidden compartments. The peaceful trader was actually a deep penetration scout ship. Yoon opened secure channels to 17 other hidden human vessels operating throughout Thorgan space. Each ship began transmitting targeting data for the massive fleet that would soon arrive. The merchant captains who had seemed so focused on profit were actually advanced scouts for the largest military operation in human history. On Earth, President Moon Jae-in addressed the emergency session of the Global Defense Council. The room contained the most powerful military and political leaders in human space. Their faces were grim as they listened to reports of Thorgan aggression. The president authorized the activation of the entire human war machine. Built over 3 centuries and hidden from alien observation, the military force that emerged from concealment was beyond anything the galaxy had ever imagined. Fleet Admiral Song Woo-jin received orders to deploy the home fleet from its hidden base in the Kuiper Belt. 200 ships that had been disguised as asteroids powered up their systems and began moving toward the inner system. The vessels were larger and more advanced than any alien dreadnought. The admiral had spent 20 years commanding what appeared to be a small defensive force protecting the Sol system. In reality, he controlled the most powerful naval force in galactic history, equipped with weapons and shields that made alien technology look primitive. Communication networks throughout human space came alive with encrypted transmissions, coordinating the largest military deployment in galactic history. Every human facility, every hidden base, every disguised weapon platform received its orders simultaneously. The galaxy was about to discover that the peaceful species they had dismissed as harmless traders and healers was actually the most dangerous predator that had ever evolved among the stars. The mask was finally coming off, and the true face of humanity was terrifying to behold. President Moon Jae-in stood before the rebuilt Galactic Council chambers 6 months after the fall of the Thorgan Empire. The Great Hall had been redesigned with human engineering and now featured advanced security systems that could scan every delegate for weapons, diseases, and hidden recording devices. The old marble floors had been replaced with smart materials that could detect movement and analyze biological signatures. The seating arrangement told the story of the new galactic order. Human delegates occupied the central section, where the most powerful species had once sat, while alien representatives were arranged in order of their cooperation with human authority. The Velkari hegemony sat closest to the humans, having immediately surrendered their military forces for inspection. President Moon began her address to the assembled species with words that would be remembered for centuries. She explained that the galaxy had taught humanity many valuable lessons about civilization and power. The destruction of Research Station Harmony had been particularly educational, showing humans exactly what kind of universe they lived in. The president thanked the alien species for demonstrating that peace was only possible when maintained by superior force. She assured the delegates that humanity had learned this lesson well and would apply it consistently throughout galactic space. The days when strong species could murder weak ones for entertainment were officially over. Moon outlined the new galactic constitution that would govern interstellar relations. All species would be required to register their military assets with human oversight committees. Weapons of mass destruction would be banned, except for human forces who would serve as galactic peacekeepers. Trade disputes would be settled by human arbitrators with access to complete intelligence about all parties involved. Ambassador Lee Dae-ho took his new position as Director of Galactic Affairs, addressing the alien delegates with the same calm voice he had used during 15 years of diplomatic meetings. The difference was that now every species hung on his words, knowing that human displeasure could mean the end of their civilization. Lee explained the practical implementation of human galactic administration. Each major world would host a human observation post staffed with intelligence officers who would monitor local political developments. All interstellar communication would be routed through human relay stations, ensuring that no hostile activities could be coordinated without human knowledge. The new system was not designed to oppress alien species, but to prevent them from oppressing each other. Lee made it clear that humans had no interest in ruling alien populations directly. Instead, they would serve as referees in the endless conflicts that had plagued galactic civilization for millennia. Dr. Kim Yoo-jin addressed the reformed Galactic Medical Authority from her new position as Director of Xenobiological Research. Her years of treating alien patients in war zones had given her unprecedented knowledge of galactic physiology, which now served humanitarian purposes on an enormous scale. Kim announced the development of universal medical treatments that could heal previously incurable diseases affecting dozens of species. The same biological knowledge that had created targeted weapons during the war was now being used to save millions of lives. The doctor who had once designed ways to incapacitate alien soldiers was now curing plagues that had ravaged entire worlds. The new medical protocols required all species to share their biological data with human researchers, ensuring that future treatments could be developed quickly and efficiently. Kim explained that medical cooperation was not optional. Species that refused to participate would not receive access to human medical technology. Captain Park Soo-bin returned to her role as a humanitarian mission commander, but now led a fleet of ships that could defend themselves against any threat. Her cargo vessels retained their hidden weapon systems as a reminder that human mercy was backed by overwhelming force. Park coordinated relief efforts for the millions of Thorgan refugees who had been displaced by the collapse of their empire. The same species that had celebrated the destruction of Research Station Harmony now depended on human charity for basic survival. Park treated them with the same compassion. She had shown other refugees but made sure they understood how completely their situation had changed. The refugee camps became laboratories for studying post-war reconstruction techniques. Human social scientists analyzed how defeated populations could be integrated into the new galactic order. The Thorgan refugees served as test subjects for rehabilitation programs that would be applied to other troublesome species. Engineer Choi Min-ho supervised the construction of the new galactic communication network from his headquarters on Luna. The system replaced the chaotic patchwork of incompatible alien technologies with standardized human equipment that could monitor every transmission in known space. The network provided unprecedented coordination between different species, allowing for rapid response to natural disasters, criminal activities, and potential military threats. Choi designed the system to appear beneficial to alien users while giving human intelligence services complete access to all interstellar communications. Fleet Admiral Song Woo-jin commanded the new Galactic Defense Force from his flagship orbiting Earth. The human fleet had been expanded to include vessels from cooperative alien species serving under human officers. The combined force represented the largest military organization in galactic history. Song established patrol routes that ensured human ships could reach any system within days of receiving a distress call. The visible presence of human warships served as a constant reminder that the age of unchecked aggression was over. Species that had once terrorized their neighbors now lived under the watchful eyes of human peacekeepers. The Admiral also oversaw the dismantling of alien weapons of mass destruction, ensuring that no species could threaten entire populations with extinction. The planet-killer weapons that had once made the Thorgan Empire feared were either destroyed or converted to peaceful uses under human supervision. General Kim Tae-sung transitioned from military commander to Director of Galactic Intelligence, overseeing the network of human agents that had been revealed during the war. The intelligence service that had operated in secret for 3 centuries now worked openly as the foundation of galactic security. Kim established training programs for alien intelligence officers who would work under human supervision to monitor local threats. The new system created unprecedented cooperation between species that had been enemies for generations. All information flowed through human analysis centers, ensuring that potential conflicts could be identified and prevented. Commander Park Ji-won founded the Galactic Psychological Health Institute, using her expertise in warfare psychology to help traumatized populations recover from centuries of constant conflict. Her understanding of alien psychology now served therapeutic purposes, helping entire species overcome the cultural trauma of endless war. The Institute developed new treatments for post-traumatic stress disorder that affected billions of beings across the galaxy. Park's knowledge of fear and manipulation was transformed into techniques for healing and reconciliation. The commander who had once broken enemy morale now helped rebuild shattered civilizations. The memorial to the 37 researchers killed at Station Harmony became the most important shrine in human space. Every alien diplomat was required to visit the site and pay respects to the humans whose deaths had triggered the transformation of galactic civilization. The memorial inscription was carved in every known language, reminding visitors that humanity had chosen peace for 3 centuries until forced to choose total war. The simple monument served as both a tribute to the dead and a warning to the living about the consequences of crossing humanity. President Moon concluded her address to the Galactic Council by reflecting on the lessons learned during the brief but decisive war against the Thorgan Empire. She explained that the galaxy had been trapped in cycles of violence because no species had been strong enough to impose lasting peace. Humanity had broken that cycle not through conquest but through demonstration of overwhelming capability. The new galactic order was built on the understanding that peace required the credible threat of force applied by beings wise enough to use it responsibly. The president announced that Earth would serve as the permanent capital of galactic civilization, hosting the expanded council chambers and the various administrative bodies needed to govern interstellar society. The species that had once dismissed humans as harmless traitors were now traveling to Sol System to seek audience with their new overseers. As the council session ended, alien delegates filed out of the chamber discussing trade proposals and territorial adjustments with the careful politeness of beings who understood their place in the new hierarchy. The galaxy had learned that underestimating humanity was not just dangerous, it was potentially fatal. The universe was no longer a place where strong species could prey on weak ones with impunity. Every world now lived under the protection of human oversight, ensuring that the kind of casual brutality that had destroyed Research Station Harmony would never happen again. Humanity had finally taken its place as the dominant species in galactic civilization, not through aggression but through patient preparation and the willingness to use overwhelming force when necessary. The galaxy would never forget the Admiral Kreck stood in the war room of the Thorgan military headquarters on Thorgos Prime. surrounded by tactical displays showing the deployment of the largest fleet in Empire history. The admiral felt confident as he studied the positions of his forces. 2,000 warships, including 50 planet killers, formed an impenetrable defensive wall around Thorgan space. The Empire had mobilized every available vessel in response to humanity's withdrawal from galactic treaties. Admiral Krex expected the humans to launch desperate attacks against border worlds driven by emotion over the destruction of their research station. The Thorgan military computers predicted that human forces would be defeated within 6 months. What the computers could not predict was that humanity had been studying Thorgan military doctrine for 3 centuries. Every tactical manual, every training exercise, every battle formation had been analyzed by human intelligence services. The Empire was preparing to fight an enemy that knew their every weakness. The first sign that something was wrong came at exactly 0400 hours, when every major Thorgan communication relay simultaneously went offline. Military commanders across the Empire found themselves unable to contact their fleets or coordinate defensive operations. The communication blackout was so complete and precise that it could only have been planned by someone with intimate knowledge of Thorgan infrastructure. Admiral Krex tried to establish contact with his border fleets but received only static. The Empire had built redundant communication systems to prevent exactly this kind of catastrophic failure. Yet somehow the humans had identified and neutralized every backup system, every emergency relay, every hidden transmitter. General Vord commanded the 3rd Thorgan fleet from his flagship in the Rigel sector. When the power grids began failing across his patrol zone, 7 worlds lost their primary energy systems within minutes, leaving entire populations in darkness. The failures were not random. They followed a pattern that suggested detailed knowledge of Thorgan power distribution networks. The general ordered his engineering teams to investigate, but their reports made no sense. The power failures were caused by microscopic devices that had been introduced into the fuel supplies months or even years earlier. The devices had remained dormant until activated by a specific signal that triggered simultaneous system failures across multiple worlds. Vorg realized with growing horror that humans had been secretly sabotaging Thorgan infrastructure for years. Every fuel shipment, every maintenance operation, every supply delivery had been an opportunity to plant these devices. The humans had weaponized the very systems that kept Thorgan civilization functioning. Commander Park G-1 sat in a hidden facility beneath the lunar surface, directing the psychological warfare campaign against the Thorgan Empire. Her team had spent decades creating detailed profiles of every important Thorgan leader, studying their personalities, their fears, their family connections, and their deepest insecurities. Park's computers contained personal information about every Thorgan military commander, including their childhood memories, their romantic relationships, and their secret shame. Park's team knew which leaders were brave and which were cowards, which ones could be trusted, and which ones would betray their own people to save themselves. The psychological attacks began with targeted broadcasts to individual Thorgan worlds. Each transmission was customized for maximum emotional impact on specific populations. The broadcast contained detailed information about Thorgan military positions, proving that humans had been watching and recording everything for years. Admiral Krex received a personal message at his private residence on Thorgos Prime. The transmission contained a complete floor plan of his home, including the location of his family members. The message politely informed him that his wife and children were under constant surveillance and suggested that he might want to reconsider his military career. Similar messages reached every important Thorgan leader simultaneously. Each communication demonstrated intimate knowledge of their personal lives and implied that their families were vulnerable to human retaliation. The psychological impact was devastating as proud warriors realized that their enemies knew everything about them. Captain Yun Hai Ri commanded the advanced scout ship that had been operating in Thorgan space for 6 years. Her vessel now revealed its true capabilities as it began transmitting targeting data for the human fleet that was approaching through hyperspace. The ship that had appeared to be a harmless trader was actually the most sophisticated spy vessel ever built. Yun's sensors had been mapping Thorgan defensive positions during every trade mission, identifying weak points in their shield generators, blind spots in their sensor coverage, and vulnerabilities in their weapon systems. Her data would allow human forces to penetrate Thorgan defenses with surgical precision. The scout ship also began broadcasting psychological warfare messages directly to Thorgan military personnel. The transmissions contained personal information about individual soldiers, including their names, their families, and their service records. The messages explained exactly how each person would die when the human fleet arrived. Fleet Admiral Song Woo-jin stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Indomitable as the human war fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Thorgan territory. The massive formation contained 300 ships, each one larger and more advanced than anything in the Thorgan military. The admiral had waited his entire career for this moment. The ships under his command represented centuries of secret development hidden from alien observation in facilities scattered throughout the outer solar system. Each vessel incorporated technology that made alien weapons look like primitive tools. Song opened a communication channel to Admiral Krex, offering the Thorgan commander one final chance to surrender. The message was broadcast on all frequencies, ensuring that every Thorgan in the system could hear humanity's terms. The offer was simple: complete surrender or total annihilation. Admiral Krex responded with typical Thorgan bravado, declaring that the Empire would never yield to inferior beings. The Thorgan fleet moved to intercept the human ships, confident that their superior numbers would overcome any technological advantage. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. Human weapon systems fired concentrated energy beams that punched through Thorgan shields like they were made of paper. Thorgan return fire simply bounced off human defensive screens without causing any visible damage. The technological gap was so enormous that the engagement was less a battle than a demonstration. Dr. Kim Yoo-jin activated the biological warfare protocols from her position at the Galactic Medical Authority headquarters. The systems she had developed during years of treating alien patients now released specifically targeted pathogens into Thorgan water supplies. The biological agents were designed to incapacitate rather than kill, but their effects were immediate and terrifying. Thorgan military personnel began falling unconscious at their posts, leaving their defensive systems unmanned. The doctor, who had seemed so dedicated to healing, had created the most effective non-lethal weapon in galactic history. Engineer Choi Min-ho coordinated the systematic shutdown of Thorgan industrial facilities from his command post on Titan Base. The hidden devices he had installed during years of infrastructure projects began activating simultaneously. Factories stopped producing weapons, shipyards ceased construction, military bases lost their power supplies. The Thorgan war machine ground to a halt as every major industrial facility failed simultaneously. The Empire discovered that their entire manufacturing capacity had been compromised by a human engineer who had spent 20 years pretending to help them improve their technology. Commander Park Ji-won broadcast the final psychological warfare message to the remnants of the Thorgan fleet. The transmission contained footage of Admiral Krex surrendering his command codes to human forces. The proud Thorgan leader had been broken by the systematic destruction of everything he had sworn to protect. The message explained that the Thorgan Empire had been living on borrowed time for 3 centuries. Every trade agreement, every diplomatic meeting, every humanitarian mission had been an opportunity for humans to study their weaknesses. The Empire had taught humanity everything needed to destroy them. President Moon Jae-in addressed the Thorgan High Council from the bridge of the flagship as human forces occupied the capital world. Her words were calm and measured as she explained the terms of Thorgan's surrender. The Empire would be disbanded, and its territory divided among human administrative zones. The president made it clear that this was not negotiable. The Thorgan Empire had chosen to murder innocent civilians and now faced the consequences of that decision. The species that had ruled through fear for centuries was now experiencing true terror for the first time. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the mighty Thorgan Empire collapsed in less than 6 months. What had seemed like an impossible victory for humanity was revealed to be the inevitable result of 3 centuries of patient preparation. The humans had turned the Empire's own strengths against them. Other alien species began broadcasting desperate messages of surrender and alliance. The Velkari hegemony offered to open their territory to human inspection. The Zephyrian Confederation begged for mercy and promised to follow human leadership. The galaxy had learned that underestimating humanity was a fatal mistake. Dr. Yang Hai 1 watched the sunrise through the observation deck of Research Station Harmony. The small outpost floated in the asteroid belt of the Kepler system, studying rare mineral formations that could revolutionize human technology. Yang had spent 5 years on this remote station leading a team of 36 other researchers who had volunteered for the isolation and danger of deep space exploration. The station was small compared to the massive military installations that dotted the galaxy. Just 4 interconnected modules housing laboratories, living quarters, and communication equipment. Yang liked the quiet simplicity of their work. Far from the politics and violence that plagued civilized space her team could focus on. Pure scientific discovery research assistant Li Minjung joined Yang at the observation window holding 2 cups of synthetic coffee. The young woman had arrived on the last supply ship 6 months ago, fresh from the academy on Earth with dreams of making groundbreaking discoveries among the stars. Li pointed to a particularly large asteroid that sparkled with unusual crystal formations. Yang smiled at her assistant's enthusiasm. The crystals they were studying could potentially store massive amounts of energy in incredibly small spaces. If their research proved successful, it would give humanity access to power sources that could change everything. But their work was pure science conducted in the open, with all findings shared freely with the galactic scientific community. What Yang did not tell her young assistant was that every discovery they made was also being analyzed by military scientists on Earth. The crystal formations they studied so carefully could power weapon systems beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. The mineral compositions they cataloged could create armor that would make human soldiers nearly invulnerable in combat. The research station maintained constant communication with Earth, sending daily reports about their progress. Every sample they collected was scanned and analyzed before being transmitted to laboratories hidden deep beneath the lunar surface. The peaceful scientific mission served as perfect cover for weapons research that would give humanity enormous advantages in any future conflict. Communication Officer Park Da-Sol received the priority transmission from Thorgan Fleet Command at exactly 1400 hours Galactic Standard Time. The message was broadcast on open frequencies. As a demonstration of Thorgan military might, Admiral Krex wanted everyone in the sector to know that the Empire was flexing its muscles again. The transmission identified Research Station Harmony as a potential threat to Thorgan territorial security. The Empire claimed that human scientists were conducting illegal surveillance operations disguised as mineral research. Admiral Krex demanded immediate surrender of all research data and evacuation of the station within 12 hours. Park knew the accusations were ridiculous. The research station had no military capabilities beyond basic defensive shields designed to protect against asteroid impacts. Their weapons consisted of mining lasers used to collect samples from nearby rocks. The 37 humans on board could not threaten a Thorgan patrol boat, much less the Empire's territorial security. But Park also understood Thorgan psychology better than most humans. She had studied their culture and military doctrine during her training. On Earth, the Thorgans were not really concerned about human research activities. They wanted to demonstrate their power by destroying a helpless target that could not fight back. Admiral Krex stood on the bridge of his flagship surveying the small human research station through the main view screen. The Thorgan fleet consisted of 12 heavy cruisers and 4 dreadnoughts, enough firepower to crack a small planet. The human outpost looked pathetically fragile by comparison, like a soap bubble floating in the vacuum of space. The Admiral had received orders from the Thorgan High Command to make an example that would remind the galaxy of the Empire's strength. Recent defeats in border skirmishes with the Velkari had damaged Thorgan prestige. The military leadership needed a quick victory to restore their reputation for invincibility. Krex studied the intelligence reports about the human station. The facility had no military escorts, no defensive weapons, and no ability to call for help before being destroyed. It was perfect for the kind of demonstration the High Command wanted. A quick, brutal attack that would be recorded and broadcast throughout Thorgan space as a warning to potential enemies. The Admiral opened a communication channel to the research station demanding immediate surrender. He did not expect the humans to comply, and did not particularly care if they did. The outcome would be the same regardless. The station would be destroyed and its inhabitants would serve. As an example of what happened to those who challenged Thorgan authority, Dr. Yang received Admiral Kreck's surrender demand with surprising calmness. She had always known that working on the frontier carried risks, but had never expected to face a military assault on a peaceful research station. Yang gathered her team in the main laboratory to discuss their limited options. The research station had no weapons capable of fighting a Thorgan battle fleet. Their shields might protect them from a few shots but would not last long against concentrated bombardment. The nearest human military base was 6 days away, even at maximum warp speed. No rescue was possible. Yang looked at the faces of her colleagues, young scientists who had come to the frontier seeking knowledge and discovery. Li Minjung was barely 23 years old with her whole life ahead of her. Park Da-Sol had 2 children waiting for her return to Earth. Most of the team had families who would never see them again, but Yang also knew that their deaths could serve a greater purpose. She activated the station's emergency beacon, sending a coded transmission to Earth. The message contained complete tactical data about the Thorgan fleet, their positions, weapon signatures, and attack patterns. The information would reach Human Military Command in less than an hour. Engineer Kim Sung-min worked frantically to boost the station's sensor array, using every technical trick he had learned during his 20 years in space. The enhanced sensors could penetrate Thorgan military shielding and record detailed information about their ship designs and weapon systems. The data Kim was collecting would give human weapons designers crucial intelligence about Thorgan military technology. Every scan revealed new weaknesses in their hull design, flaws in their shield generators, and blind spots in their sensor coverage. The information would be invaluable when humanity finally went to war. Dr. Yang made one final transmission to Earth, a personal message to her sister who worked in the Defense Ministry. The message was brief but carried enormous significance. Yang explained that the Thorgan Empire had chosen to cross a line that should never be crossed. They had decided to murder defenseless scientists conducting peaceful research. Yang knew that her sister would understand the implications. The message would reach the highest levels of human government within hours. The political leadership would face a choice between accepting the murder of innocent civilians or revealing humanity's true military capabilities. The research team spent their final hours completing their work. They transmitted every piece of data they had collected during 5 years of careful study: the mineral samples, the crystal formations, the energy readings. Everything that could benefit human science and technology was sent to Earth before the Thorgans could destroy it. Admiral Krex gave the order to attack at exactly 1800 hours. The Thorgan fleet opened fire with synchronized precision, turning the small research station into expanding clouds of superheated plasma. The attack lasted less than 5 minutes and left no survivors. The Admiral was pleased with the demonstration. His gunners had performed flawlessly, and the destruction was complete enough to send a clear message. The recording of the attack would be broadcast throughout Thorgan space as proof that the Empire remained the dominant military power in the galaxy. What Admiral Krex did not realize was that he had just made the biggest mistake in Thorgan history. The Empire had spent centuries building their reputation through calculated brutality, but they had always targeted military opponents or armed resistance movements. This was different. For the first time in 300 years, the Thorgan Empire had deliberately murdered innocent human civilians conducting peaceful scientific research. The act crossed every line of civilized behavior and violated every treaty governing interstellar relations. The transmission from Dr. Yang reached Earth 17 minutes after the research station was destroyed. General Kim Tae-sung read the final message from the research team while watching tactical displays showing the complete annihilation of station harmony. The general had been waiting for this moment for 30 years. The excuse he needed to reveal humanity's true military capabilities had finally arrived. The Thorgan Empire had provided the justification for everything humanity had been secretly preparing. Kim activated the emergency communication network, sending coded messages to human agents throughout the galaxy. The age of peaceful coexistence was over. The time for total war had finally come. The morning sun cast long shadows across the marble floors of the Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime. The Great Hall buzzed with the sounds of 100 different alien species preparing for another day of intergalactic politics. Ambassador Lee Dae-ho adjusted his simple gray suit and checked his notes one final time. The human delegation sat in the smallest section of the vast amphitheater, occupying just 12 seats among the thousands reserved for the mighty empires that ruled. The Starsley smiled his practiced diplomatic smile as he watched the Thorgan Empire delegates stomp into their section. Their massive forms towered over most other species, and their battle-scarred armor gleamed under the artificial lighting. The Thorgans never tried to hide their warrior nature. Every piece of their equipment was designed to intimidate and remind others of their military might. Their delegation leader, General Vex, wore a cape made from the hide of some unfortunate creature from a conquered world. Across the hall, the elegant Velkari representatives glided to their positions on silent feet. Their razor-sharp claws retracted into their fingertips as they settled into chairs designed specifically for their unusual anatomy. The Velkari hegemony controlled 47 star systems through a combination of superior technology and calculated brutality. They had perfected the art of making examples of entire populations to keep others in line. The crystalline beings of the Zephyrian Confederation took their places in the environmental section, where the atmosphere was adjusted for their unique physiology. Their bodies sparkled like living gems, but Lee knew that beneath their beautiful exterior lay minds capable of calculating the profit margin on planetary genocide. The Zephyrians had turned war into a business, and they were very good at business. Ambassador Lee had sat in these same chambers for 15 years, watching the endless cycle of threats, negotiations, and betrayals that passed for galactic diplomacy. He had seen species wiped from existence over trade disputes and entire sectors burned to ash because someone felt disrespected at a dinner party. The galaxy was a dangerous place ruled by beings who measured strength in the number of worlds they could destroy. What made it even more dangerous was that none of them took humanity seriously. Captain Park Soo-bin guided her massive cargo vessel through the debris field that had once been the Altarian homeworld. 3 months ago, this system had housed 12 billion souls living in floating cities that orbited their dying star. Now only twisted metal and frozen corpses marked where an ancient civilization had made their final stand against Thorgan expansion. The cargo hold of Park's ship contained medical supplies, food synthesizers, and construction materials. Everything needed to help the few million Altarian survivors who had escaped to refugee camps in neighboring systems. Park had volunteered for this mission like she volunteered for most humanitarian operations. Her crew thought she was too soft-hearted for a starship captain always helping others. Instead of focusing on profit, Park walked through the cargo bay, checking the manifest for the 3rd time. Her first officer commander, Kim Jun-ho, followed behind, taking detailed scans of every container. The young officer was new to Park's crew and still learning the peculiar way humans conducted their business in space. The cargo containers looked ordinary enough. Standard shipping modules used throughout the galaxy for transporting goods between star systems. But Kim knew that appearances could be deceiving. He had helped load these containers at the Luna shipyards, and some of them felt heavier than their manifest suggested. When he asked about the discrepancies, Park just smiled and told him that human engineering was more advanced than most aliens realized. What Kim did not know was that every humanitarian mission served multiple purposes. The medical supplies were real and would save thousands of lives, but hidden sensors throughout the cargo bay were recording detailed scans of the refugee camps, mapping their layouts and identifying potential security weaknesses. The construction materials included components that could be quickly assembled into communication arrays or defensive positions. Park had been making these kinds of deliveries for 8 years, visiting every major alien population center in the galaxy. Her ship's computers contained more intelligence about alien infrastructure than most military organizations possessed. Every time she docked at a space station, her sensors recorded the defensive capabilities. Every refugee camp she visited became another data point in humanity's growing understanding of galactic civilization. Dr. Kim Yoo-jin finished her examination of the wounded Thorgan soldier and made notes in her medical data pad. The young warrior had been injured in a border skirmish with the Velkari, and brought to the neutral medical station where Kim worked. Her patient would recover fully, thanks to human medical technology that seemed almost miraculous to other species. The Thorgan looked up at Kim with gratitude in his large yellow eyes. Few doctors in the galaxy would treat enemy soldiers during wartime, but humans had a reputation for helping anyone who needed medical care. Kim smiled gently and assured him that he would be fighting fit in just a few more days. The warrior thanked her in broken galactic standard and promised to remember her kindness. What the Thorgan did not realize was that Kim had learned more about his species' physiology in the past hour than most xenobiologists. Discovered in years of study, she had identified 17 different ways to incapacitate a Thorgan warrior using common medical compounds. Her scanner had mapped his entire nervous system and recorded how his species reacted to various forms of stress. Kim had been working in alien hospitals for 12 years, always volunteering for the most dangerous assignments, treating the worst casualties from the galaxy's endless wars. She had studied the anatomy of 43 different species and identified biological weaknesses in all of them. Her research was filed away in secure databases on Earth, where military scientists turned her medical knowledge into more effective weapons. Engineer Choi Min Ho put the finishing touches on the new, defensive system he had installed in the human trade outpost. The station manager had complained about the cost, but Choi explained that pirates were becoming more aggressive and better protection was necessary. The new shields looked like standard, commercial-grade equipment designed to protect against asteroid impacts and solar radiation. In reality, the shields could withstand direct bombardment from a Thorgan battlecruiser for several hours, more than enough time for reinforcements to arrive, or for the station's hidden weapons to eliminate any attackers. The trade outpost now had enough firepower to take on a small fleet, while still looking like a harmless commercial facility. Choi had spent 20 years building these kinds of installations. Throughout human space, every trading post, research station, and diplomatic facility had been quietly upgraded with military-grade systems disguised as civilian equipment. The network of fortified positions created an integrated defense system that covered all of human territory while maintaining the illusion of peaceful intentions. Back on Earth in a bunker deep beneath the Swiss Alps, General Kim Tae-sung reviewed the daily intelligence reports from across the galaxy his staff had compiled. Data from thousands of human agents operating throughout alien space. Every trade mission, every medical assignment, every diplomatic function contributed to humanity's understanding of galactic civilization. The general studied star charts showing the current positions of every major alien fleet. He knew which systems were lightly defended, which trade routes were most vulnerable, and which alien leaders were ambitious enough to start the next galactic war. The information came from humans, who appeared to be nothing more than helpful merchants, doctors, and diplomats. General Kim had been preparing for this day for 30 years, building an intelligence network that spanned the galaxy while maintaining humanity's reputation as a peaceful species. Every alien empire had spies and intelligence services, but none of them suspected that the harmless humans were conducting the most sophisticated espionage operation in galactic history. The key to humanity's success was patience. Other species acted on emotion or immediate gain, but humans played the long game. They had spent 3 centuries building trust and gathering information while alien empires rose and fell around them. Every conflict between other species taught humanity valuable lessons about galactic warfare while reinforcing their image as neutral peacekeepers. Ambassador Lee closed his datapad as the council session ended. Another day of careful diplomacy that accomplished very little, but revealed much about alien intentions. The other delegates filed out of the chamber discussing territorial disputes and trade sanctions, while Lee quietly compiled mental notes about everything he had observed. Tomorrow would bring another session, another opportunity to watch and learn. While playing the role of the helpful neighbor species, Lee had perfected the art of appearing weak and harmless, while gathering the intelligence that would someday determine the fate of galactic civilization. The galaxy saw humanity as merchants, and healers, traders, and diplomats. But beneath the peaceful exterior lay something far more dangerous. A species that had learned patience from 3 centuries of careful observation and preparation. The aliens who dismissed humans as soft and harmless had no idea that they were surrounded by the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever seen. Soon they would learn the truth about humanity, but by then it would be far too late.